Prime Minister's meeting with Joe Biden, of course, happening while you were sleeping. They've agreed to work on strengthening their relationship in the Pacific. It's the first meeting with the US President for New Zealand since 2014. Joining us to discuss is National Party leader Christopher Luxon. Good morning.
Good morning, Melissa. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. What we've been seeing this morning too is two leaders, very friendly. President Biden saying that Jacinda Ardern's leadership has been critical on a global stage in terms of extremism, climate change. She's having quite the impact, isn't she?
Oh, look, I think it's absolutely fantastic for New Zealand that the Prime Minister's met with the President. It's a really good thing. It helps deepen the relationship, and that ultimately leads to trading opportunities between our two countries. And we're a trading country. We don't get rich selling stuff to each other. We have to go out in the world and make our way. And the US is our third largest partner, so it's just a really good thing this morning.
The Prime Minister has said that New Zealand is happy to join the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. Does that go far enough in terms of economic cooperation?
Well, look, it would be great to have more deeper trade relationships with the US. Australia's had a free trade agreement with the US for some time, and obviously it's a difficult thing politically for the Americans at the moment, but we should keep trying to push for that. The Indo-Pacific Economic Framework is pretty light in terms of what it actually would enable and what it would achieve in terms of trade. So there's a really big opportunity to try and push harder in that space. You know, at the end of the day, we actually need to do trade with as many countries as we can. You would have seen yesterday, I think the Brits did a deal with India. During COVID, the Australians did a free trade agreement with India as well. And so we've got a bit of catch up, and we've got to get our Prime Minister and our ministers out and about in the world, engaging with our partners and doing the business for New Zealand.
And do you think the Prime Minister has made the most of her time with President Biden in the US, speaking both about TPP and relations within the Pacific?
Look, I think the visit's been very good for New Zealand. It's really important that she has that top-to-top relationship with the President of America. He's the most powerful person in the world. It's the most powerful economy in the world. And so it's all just very good for New Zealand.
It will be interesting to see how this plays out in terms of the New Zealand public with the next polls. And in terms of election campaigning, this far out from an election, if you're putting ads out there that are focusing on what the other party is doing rather than your own policies, does that indicate there's some worry there?
Well, look, I think it's flattering, but I really think they should be focused on running the country, not on myself or on the National Party per se. We've been talking about this cost of living crisis since I became the leader. It's the Prime Minister and Grant Robertson sort of denied it was actually happening until fairly recently. I go to 2 or 3 towns every week. It's the major issue. It's impacting everyone and everything.
These kinds of campaigns, though, we've got a couple of National Party campaign ads that have also been posted on the National Party Facebook pages. I think we can bring them up. You probably won't be able to see these, but there's one of Porto Williams. This is the one that Labor had posted of yourself, the cost of living crisis. That's how we'll win this election. The next one is Porter Williams saying number of gang members who think the police minister is tough on crime. And then this next one is Labor on wealth tax with Jacinda Ardern. So is this going to be a campaign that's characterised by personality politics and attack ads?
No, look, I really think we play the ball, not the person, and when we're trying to make the points around where the government's falling short, we're also trying to make the points ultimately where we propose ideas as well. And if you think about the cost of living crisis, we've got a good plan for that, and we've been talking about that for some time. So
what are the new
ideas?
It's a tough business politics. What are the new ideas that National is putting forward on that?
Well, look, I think you and I have talked before. If you just think about the crime challenges that we've got in New Zealand at the moment, we've been saying for some time, let's do the firearm prohibition order, so there's warrantless search powers to go after illegal guns. Let's have a dedicated gang task force. And then thirdly, let's review the police pursuit policy. And it was good yesterday, for example, to see the police commissioner say that the police are going to go off and do that. And so that's the job as an opposition. What we have to do is hold the government to account, but importantly propose ideas. And if they get picked up by the government and they benefit New Zealand, that's a good thing.
In terms of Te Reo, you've seen the worst of the comments section after you put a post using Te Reo, talking in a tribute about Joe Hawke. The comments that were there that were saying that you shouldn't have been using Te Reo, that were anti-Te Reo, are those comments racist?
Look, I mean, from my point of view, Joe Hawke was a great leader. He made a great contribution to New Zealand and to Māoridom. He's someone I respected in terms of how he went about his work and his cause. I thought it was entirely appropriate to acknowledge Joe in Te Reo. I'm learning Te Reo myself. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, and it's my choice. It doesn't mean everybody else has to do it, but I've chosen to do it, and so I felt it was entirely appropriate. But obviously, I haven't seen all the comments, but I condemn racism in all its forms, and so for me, I should feel free to. I thought it was entirely appropriate to acknowledge Joe in that way.
Are anti-Te Reo comments racist?
Look, we can't tolerate racism in New Zealand, full stop.
Are those
I
comments
think you should be
racist?
free to be able to. Well, some of them were just, abuse at me, to be honest, about, not wanting to deal with.
But if people are saying that they don't want you to use Te Reo, is that a racist comment?
I think it's not appropriate. Yeah, I just think it's not necessary, those comments. If I'm choosing to use Te Reo because I think it was appropriate for that situation and I'm interested in using more Te Reo, I think I made the right call.
National Party leader Christopher Luxon, thanks very much for joining us this morning.